Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Roy Gerber, race director, and I'd like to welcome you all to the 17th annual Cincinnati Park Mini Marathon Weekend. Very quickly, the purpose of the mini marathon is to promote the image and awareness of the American Heart Association, to encourage aerobic exercise like running and walking in the community, and of course to raise funds for the American Heart Association for heart research. And this year we had an outstanding corporate solicitation thanks to Tom Hill and Tom Lugers and his people. We've had over 100 corporate sponsors, including our major sponsor, Choice Care, and we want to thank all of those hundreds of companies that have helped to support this event. Speaking of thank yous, I want to thank all the hundreds of volunteers that help make an event like this possible. There's an awful lot of volunteers that go into making this successful. Tomorrow and today, when you see a volunteer, if you could thank them, I think they would really appreciate it. Plus, if you thank them, the probability of them coming back next year will be increased, and we need those volunteers. This year, we're very excited about a number of different things. As some of you may know, Runner's World selected the Cincinnati Heart Mini Marathon as one of the top 100 road races in the country, and that's something we're very proud of, and obviously that's a reflection of all the volunteers that we've had. We also found out that the poster was selected, last year's poster was selected as the 4th best poster in the country. And as some of you may know, we've won that a couple times before, and this year it's 4th. And once again, the poster was designed by John Maggart. John is here. He's sitting over in the American Heart Association booth, and he'll be glad to autograph a poster for you. Or if you'd like to say hello to John, you're welcome to do that. Let me see, some other quick announcements. In terms of the changes this year, you all know there's a 5K this year. Okay, either like this or like that. The 5K starts at 9 o'clock. If you registered for the 15K, you need to be out there for a 10:30 start, not a 1 o'clock start. Okay, and of course the Heart Walk is at 1 o'clock, and we've had all the courses recertified. Another quick announcement, if you want to be a seated runner, if you don't know what seated means, you probably don't want to be seated, but if you do want to be seated, there is a booth for seated runners, and you can go over there and discuss your prior race times, and they will give you a little dot to put on your number. One more announcement. Some of you may have recognized this banner over there, this double banner over in the corner. Those are the banners we've had hanging up downtown for about the last 10 years. They hung off the light poles, I guess, for about the last 10 years. And this year, we were unable to hang them up anymore. And these would be an excellent collector's item for someone who's run the Cincinnati Heart Mini Marathon many times. And we decided this year to have a silent auction. And what that means is, if you would like to have this banner in your home, if you have a small apartment with a small wall, and you're married and you'd like to be single, that would be a great thing for you to buy. If you have a house with a very large wall and you'd like to hang it up, I think it would be a wonderful memento. Or you could cut it down for a shower curtain or anything like that. Anyway, there's a little sheet over there, and what you do is you put your name, your phone number, and your bid on there. And the bids are starting at $10. Can't beat that. So if someone will put a bid down of $10, then the next person needs to raise that by $2. So for as little as $10 or as much as $1,000, you could walk away with that memento. With that having been said, I'm very pleased to introduce our guest speaker, and I should say that Steve Scott is here courtesy of Rendiggs, Fry, Kiley, and Dennis. Steve Scott is the current American record holder in the outdoor mile with a time of 3:47.69, and Steve also holds the current indoor mile record with a 3:51.7. And over the course of Steve's illustrious career, he was an NCAA champion 6 times. He won the AAU and later the TAC National Championship 6 times, and he set 3 world records and 15 American records. And Steve was also a member of the 1980, 84, and 88 U.S. Olympic teams. What has set Steve Scott apart from those that came before him, and probably those that will follow him, is his amazing consistency and durability. Steve was the top-rated U.S. 1,500 and mile runner 11 times since 1977. And during that same time, he was also in the top 10 in the world 11 times. And lately, there's been a lot of interest in the mile because next month is the 40th anniversary of Roger Bannister's historic 4-minute mile. Last month, Eamon Coghlan became the first man to break 4 minutes in the mile as a master. Well, Steve has run more sub 4-minute miles than anyone else in the world. He's run under 4 minutes 136 times. And he's run under 350 8 times. Steve grew up in Upland, California and graduated from the University of California, Irvine. He's married to Kim Scott, has 2 sons, aged 12 and 1, and a daughter 10. Steve is a board member of Health Awareness Foundation, a group that educates youth on fitness and health using professional athletes as role models. He's been a professional athlete, professional spokesperson for Sub4 Clothing, Nike, and he currently works for Asics Tiger Corporation. Steve also currently works as a commentator for ESPN, and he's also the event coordinator for the Carlsbad 5000, which is America's premier road race with more than 75,000 participants. I have to find out how you did that, Steve. And most recently, Steve has served as a technical advisor in the movie Pentathlon. He went Hollywood. He was a technical advisor to the movie Pentathlon, and I understand he also had a big part in that. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming an American track and field legend, Steve Scott.
After all those miles. Oh. Roy, you failed to mention, is this a law firm or an accounting firm?
Law firm.
A law firm.
I was afraid to say that.
Oh, yeah. We had a conversation about that yesterday. Just like to thank you all for coming in here to listen to me speak, and I'm happy to be in Cincinnati for the first time. Through all my travels, I've traveled all throughout the world, practically every continent, and practically every state in the country, and this was my first chance to come to Cincinnati, and so far I've been very impressed. I had the opportunity yesterday to judge a cheerleading contest at Choice Care yesterday, and so that was a lot of fun. And I'm really looking forward to the race tomorrow. I'm going to be running in the 5K, and it's kind of like a chance to tune up and to see where I am, because the Carlsbad 5000, one that I'm participating in, helped put on is next Sunday. So it gives me a chance to see where I am and see how badly I'm going to get beat by all those great athletes we're bringing in next week. But what I'd like to do today is more or less kind of give you a little bit of an overview of my career over the last, how long has it been now, 20 years? Just a quick overview, and then because we have quite a diverse audience, what I'd like to do is kind of give some of my thoughts on some training tips, some things that have helped me in my career. And also, my career has reached kind of a point where your running career kind of goes like a bell curve. You start out at the bottom and work your way up, and you work hard and train hard, and then you get to the very top. And you know, along the way up, people, first of all, they know nothing about you. And then as you're getting better, people learn about you, but you know, they're really not willing to help you all that much. And then you get to the top, and everybody wants you. They all want you to come to their race, and they all want you to participate. And then you start falling off the curve, and you start getting a little bit older and running a little bit slower. And then again, people don't want to hear much from you anymore. The invitations stop coming, and the phone stops ringing. And so I've had to make some adjustments to my career over the last couple of years, and try to look for ways to improve. I'll be 38 in a month, and I think a lot of you will be able to understand some of the things I'm going through, and also I believe that I can give you some helpful hints on how to try to battle the problems that age present to us. First of all, I'd just like to talk a little bit about my career and what got me started. I actually didn't start running until I got to high school, and I was recruited out of more or less out of junior high for the high school team because we had a one-time cross-country race between the two local junior highs in our school. I was born and raised in Upland, California. It's a small town 30 miles east of Los Angeles. And the high school coach was really on the ball. He would organize this cross-country race between the two local junior highs, and whoever finished in the top 20, he would try to recruit them out for cross-country at the high school the following year. Well, no one did any training. No one ran or prepared for this thing. It was just like, if you're in the 8th grade and you're in PE, you're going to run this mile-and-a-half cross-country race. You didn't have a choice. So, you know, pride would take over, and you'd go out and run as hard as you could. And in this particular race, I think I finished in the top 20, but I definitely wasn't in the top 10. But he recruited me out for the cross-country team because he promised, well, you know, you can get all sorts of trophies and medals and win awards and possibly have a chance of earning your varsity letter as a freshman in high school. And I thought, oh, this is great, a varsity letter as a freshman in high school? You know, I was thinking in terms of, you know, all the girls would just love that. You know, what a thing to pick up girls with, you know, a big varsity letter. But what they didn't tell me was that girls don't care about varsity letter and cross country. You know, they like the football, baseball, and basketball. But if I was a varsity letter as a freshman in those sports, yeah, then I could, you know, get all the women. But not in cross country. So anyway, that's what really got me out for cross country in high school, was the fact that I wanted to compete in a sport because I was a baseball player, and I was planning on playing baseball in the spring. And if you get this story, this is pretty good. If you are playing in the spring sport, you have to take first period PE in the fall. And the fall where we're from, it's cold, not as cold as you guys are used to, but it still gets pretty cold. We got some mountains behind us and the wind comes down, so it's pretty chilly at 8 o'clock in the morning in the fall and winter. So I didn't want to take first period PE during the fall and winter. So I had to find a sport so I can compete after school. Now, it didn't make much sense to not go to first period PE so I can go after school and run my butt off. You know, it didn't make much sense, but that's what I decided to do, was to go off for cross country, because football, I wasn't big enough for football. Water polo was the other sport that was offered in the fall, and I couldn't swim. So I was stuck doing cross country so that I wouldn't have to go to first period PE. Never claimed to have a whole lot of brains, but, and you know, as runners, look at the things that we go through to be a runner. I mean, in my years, well, I've been running for almost 24 years, and I've probably logged over 75,000 miles in that period of time. I mean, I've had bottles thrown at me by people driving by, thinking they're funny. They'll chuck a bottle at me. Cars coming by, they open up the car door, trying to hit me with the car door, or just plain run me right off the road. I remember I was in Raleigh, North Carolina. I was on a stopover, and I just went out for a run from the airport, and you know, you're kind of out in the middle of nowhere, and these guys in a pickup truck tried to run me off the road. So, you know, and you have, I've had water balloons thrown at me. I've been stopped and given a ticket by the police for jaywalking, jaywalking. I've been chased by bulls running out in the country, you know, where there's cows and bulls, and a bull would come after me, and I had to jump over the fence, and that's no bull. You know, you have blisters, you have my toenails. I don't think I have any toenails left on my toes. That was back when I was wearing Nike, though. And then the great one is when you start running and your bowels aren't quite used to the fact that you're running again, and you make it 5 miles out, and you still got to come 5 miles back, and you know, you just got to stop and go to the bathroom. And there's no toilets around, so yeah, I've used a lot of bushes in the past and leaves. So, you know, the things that runners have to go through is sometimes funny, but sometimes can be quite serious. And you know, the type of workouts that I've done in high school or in college, it would be normal for us to do 10 miles worth of intervals in a particular workout. 20 times 800, 10 times a mile repeat, all at 10,000 meter pace. So we worked ourselves pretty hard, and sometimes it could be pretty dangerous. In fact, Roy and I went out for a run yesterday. He took me out back into the backcountry across the river in Kentucky. And we were going for a run in this backcountry road, and we come around this corner, and there's a pit bull standing right in the middle of the street. And you've heard the stories about pit bulls, they're pretty vicious. And he's growling and snarling, and he's tensing up, just ready to jump on us at any second. And I turn around and I just start running the other direction. And Roy looks at me and goes, "Steve, don't run, you're not going to outrun that pit bull." And I go, "Yeah, Roy, but I'll outrun you." So, we go through a lot of things, but in high school, I was basically an average athlete the first couple of years of running. I had some natural ability, and I was sharing with the people here in the front row. I had some natural abilities, but I didn't work as hard as I could have, and as hard as I should have. I didn't have the dedication. I didn't have the willingness to do the things that I needed to do on my own. My coach kept telling me, you need to put in some mileage in the summer, you need to put mileage in the weekends, or maybe do some running in the morning. But I just wasn't dedicated. I wasn't ready to make that next step. In fact, I was telling the story, my mom started running when I was a sophomore in high school. In the summer, she started running to try to shame me and to get out and put some miles in the summer to get ready for the cross-country season. So actually it's a good thing for her, because she started running way back when, and she's still running. She runs 4 to 6 miles a day, 6 days a week. And she started just to shame me into getting out and running. Of course, she'd come in and she'd be all sweaty and hot, and it's 9:30 in the morning, I'm still in bed. And she'd say, "God, it's just beautiful out. You should go out and get a run in." And I'd just kind of roll over and go back to sleep. But it has to come from within you. Your coach can't make you do the extra bit. Your parents can't make you do the extra bit. Your teammates. When you decide that you want to make that next step to be a better athlete and to do what it takes to take that next step, then good things are going to happen. But it has to come from within. And with me, it happened when I was in college. It didn't happen until my sophomore year of college. Again, I was making progress just on natural ability. And I did what the coach told me to do. I was very coachable. If he said, go out and do the 10-mile repeats, the 20 halves, I would get through the workout. I would never quit a workout. I made through every single one we had, unless I was sick or injured, obviously. But I worked hard when he told me to work. But if he wasn't standing over me, then I was hopeless. And it wasn't until sophomore year of college, I made it to the U.S. Olympic trials in 1976. I was the last one selected. They have a time goal that you have to achieve to make it to the trials. But they have to fill the field with 18 runners. Well, they only had 16 that qualified with time. So they had to select 2 athletes. Well, I was one of the 2 selected. So I was the 18th person that was selected to go to the Olympic trials, the last qualifier. So no one really expected anything out of me. In fact, the day of the finals, my brother was supposed to be getting married, and the trials were up in Eugene, Oregon. He was getting married down in Upland. So my parents had such confidence in me. They had flights arranged for me for, we run heats, semis, and finals. They had flights for me right after the heats and right after the semifinals to make it back home in time for the wedding. So they had a lot of confidence in me. But the thing was, I made it past the heats, I made it past the semis, and I made it into the finals. And in the finals, I finished 7th. And this is a college sophomore finishing 7th in Olympic trials. They take the top 3 to the Olympics. And all of a sudden, something just registered. Ding. And I realized that, hey, I have some ability here. And if I become a dedicated athlete, work hard, then good things could possibly happen. And that summer, I stayed at school. I ran a lot of miles that summer. I got a good solid base in. I started running 2-a-day workouts in my preparation during college. I started being real diligent in my weight training, partied a little bit less in the college scene, became a little bit more dedicated. And in 1977, I was the #1 ranked 1,500 meter runner in the United States and ranked #9 in the world. And that was completely, I believe, off the fact that I made the decision that I was going to work hard and I was going to be dedicated, and I wanted to see exactly how far I could take this thing. And I took it a long way, because with that consistency and that dedication, it carried me through a career over, well, I was still ranked #1 in the U.S. until 1989, and still ranked top in the world until '89. And since that time, I've had some disappointments, but I thought at this time I'm going to show you a tape of what I looked like in '77. This was my first year of running on the international circuit. It was just after the '76 trials, and it was in Jamaica. I'll talk a little bit more about it as the race is going on.
Run by on the inside, the man to beat.
If you don't recognize me, I'm the long-haired guy in the yellow top and the blue shorts. I'm right in the middle of the pack.
Okay, here we go. We see Bailly going.
Hey, this was the '70s look. Come on, give me a break.
One to watch is in 5th place with half-mile from.
This particular race is kind of a good story. This is a 1,500 meters. It's my first opportunity to run internationally against international competition, and the race is held, as I said, in Jamaica. And my coach had a tough time because he wasn't able to go with me because we had collegiate meets going on. So he asked, well, how about if your girlfriend comes along with you? Which was a tough decision because I had to go and ask her parents if she could go with me for 3 days to Jamaica. And of course the parents said, yeah. I went ahead and married her later on anyway, so everything was fine. But the guy in the red, he has hair here. He's since lost it, but he's in 4th place in the red is Steve Ovett from Great Britain. And after this race, he went on to have an undefeated streak of something like 60 straight races.
Nigerians or South Africans in that race?
The one in the lead, Bailly, is from Tanzania. There's another Tanzanian in 3rd. Yeah, they sure can. There's a German in the race.
What state are you from?
California. But again, this was my first exposure to international running. And
the last half-mile, excellent course speed. You're going to have to watch out for it. Very easy pace,
a little more than a lap to go.
Cummings right on his shoulder. And now running on the outside, moving up is Ken Shepherd. Those are the field right now. That is Stuart Bailly in the lead. Paul Cummings is #2, and now we have a move being made on the outside. Ken Shepherd moving up into 3rd, Steve Scott. They hit 2:01 at the half. A good pace to get a very fast race on a day like today. Shepherd pressing the field.
It was actually pretty warm. Luckily, the race was held in the evening, but it was still quite hot and quite humid. Probably in the 80s with 80 plus 90% humidity. So it was a good hot night. Okay, here we're coming into the last lap. And Phil Bailly, if you don't know, at this time was I think he was he would have been the world record holder. He was a previous world record holder. Walker held the record at this time.
What a kick. What a kick.
And now we have 300 meters to go at this point.
Hey, there comes Bushy Hair up there on the outside. Bushy Hair is coming up on the outside. How are you still 30? Wow. Why? They're listening to his talk until just now. Just take it easy, will you? Hey! Oh, he made it.
That's her. Well, you got to catch this point. This was on national TV, right?
Fastest time in the world for the 1,500 meters at this time. Steve Scott is quite as good. He was rather unknown as he is convention at high field now. He talked his way into one meet saying that he could be a good rabbit, set a fast pace early, get a good time for the sub kids beat. He landed past 3:58.7, finished third.
See the hand on the butt right there?
Gracious. And you weren't even married.
I thought that was the best part of the whole thing. And of course that went back to our hometown. It was on national TV and parents got a big load on that one, I tell you. Okay, what I'd like to go on to next is what my training program has been like, and then try to make some suggestions to you people and on what I think could be beneficial in your training. Historically, what we've done in my training is work backwards. We figure out a time frame where I want to be at my peak, which is typically July and August is the time frame where I want to be at my peak. And if you have a good base and you have a good strength background, then you can hold a peak for up to 8 weeks. So depending on your background, you can hold a peak from 4 to 8 weeks. So that's the time where I want to peak. So then you work backwards from there. An 8-week period prior to that point is where your speed training comes in. Then, so for me, that would be May and June is when I'm concentrating on speed training. Prior to that would be your strength interval training, which is I like to hold for a 16-week period. So that would be January, February, March, April. And then prior to that would be just distance background type training, which is the October, November, December time. And usually September would be a time where it would be either off or some sort of cross training, or usually now I take the time off because my body needs to get the rest and recovery. Especially as you get a little bit older, you need to take some time completely off. And I know that's a hard thing for somebody to think of, but you can do other things, cycling, swimming, some sort of cross training to keep your cardiovascularly fit, but muscularly, joints and whatever, I think that your body needs the rest. You may not have to take a month off, but it would be a good idea to take a couple of weeks off. And this is a suggestion for everybody. And I know it's hard, especially hard for me, because when I take that much time off, it's hell getting back into shape. If I take 2 weeks off, I feel miserable for 2 weeks. And usually the amount of time that you take off, it's going to take you that much time before you feel normal again. So if you have an injury or whatever, and you miss 4 weeks or you miss 6 weeks, you might as well up front know the fact that it's going to take you 4 or 6 weeks, depending on how much time you took off, before you feel normal, to feel the point at where you stop your training. So, you know, when I take 2 weeks, or if I take 3 weeks or a month off, I know that for a month I'm just going to feel rotten. And almost to the day, I'll get to that point where, you know, I'll be training for a month, and all of a sudden, I'll just start feeling good again. You know, you go out for a run, you don't feel uncoordinated, or you don't feel that soreness, and you have that step in your stride, and you start feeling good again. So almost to the day, that theory has more or less worked for me. And also, if you're ever sick and you have a fever, if you have a head cold or, you know, some other sort of a bronchial problems, it's not as bad. But if you have a fever, say if you have 2 days of 100 plus temperature, then I usually figured that it was a week per day of temperature. So if you had two days of a fever, it's going to take you 2 weeks before you start feeling normal again in your training. Because when your body is fighting off something like that, it's really hard on your system. and it just takes that long to get back to where you were before. I'd rather get injured than get sick. I mean, I'd much rather have an injury where I'm knocked out a month rather than have 4 days of the fever and the flu and those symptoms, because it takes a month to recover from, and I'm sure you guys have probably gone through it this year. The flu viruses that were going around this year were horrendous, and they took forever to get over. So as far as training for you people, the best way to improve in your running, and I believe, is to have a cyclical training type of mold. A lot of people will go out and will do the same run every day, or they'll race all year long, or they'll just do the same type of run, the same type of mileage, or maybe do some sort of interval work once a week all year long. And in that system, you're never going to get to the point where you're running at your best. So for those of you who want to get your peak performance, you need to go through a cyclical type of training, like the one that I described. So obviously for you people, the winter time is the time where you have to just do the base mileage, the base type work, because obviously the weather is not conducive to going outside and doing any type of interval work on a consistent basis. It's cold, it's miserable. So during your winter months, the hard winter months would be a time where you just do the base type work. Then you should have a period of doing strength intervals. And during strength intervals, what I'm talking about is long, slower type intervals. What I considered strength intervals for me would be doing work at 10,000 meter race pace. And for me, that's, it could be 440, 450 mile pace. But it's adjusted for everybody. But I'm training for a mile. So during that period, I'm doing the type of work that I would do for 5,000, 10,000 meter work. And I don't start at that pace either. I start at a slower pace and work my way down. Now for you people, if you want to run 5 and 10K, you would probably start your training at, say, half marathon or marathon race pace. Figure out what your marathon race pace is and start doing intervals at that pace if you want to improve over your 5K and 10K type of race. Doing hills, some hill running where you go through the hills. I know that I try to shy away from hills as much as possible. I mean, I lived in Arizona for 6 years, and you got to hunt out a hill in Phoenix. So I would go to a place and do some hill running, or go to a hill and do hill repeats. And you don't do them real fast. You just go out and just run some repeats up a hill. It's good strength training. Fartlek running, where you go out for a run and you pick up the pace for a certain period of time, maybe a 2 minute or 1 minute, where you just pick it up a little bit, and you go back to recovery pace, and then just hold for a while. A steady state run, where you go out for a specific distance, maybe 3 to 4 miles, and you hold a certain pace for 3 or 4 miles. So that's the type of training that you would do in your strength training phase. And then when you go into your speed training phase, then you're doing workouts that are at your race pace, what you want to run. So if you want to run 6-minute miles for a 10K, then your speed work would be running intervals at the pace that you want to run for the race. See, because if you go out and run 8-minute mile pace or 7:30 mile pace in all your running, then what's that going to do for you in a race? It's going to train you to run 7:30 mile pace in the race. If you want to run, if your goal is to run 6-minute pace for a 10K race, then you've got to get some training in at 6-minute mile pace. And it doesn't have to be much. Once a week, some sort of interval work where you're running faster than you normally run is plenty, especially as you get older. I used to be able to do 2 workouts a week at a high intensity level, and I just can't do that anymore. My body doesn't recover the same as it used to. So I've had to make adjustments in my training. Now I do 1 quality workout a week, and then maybe 1 steady state run where I'm running a little bit harder than normal pace, and then maybe 1 long run, and that's it. That's my training for a week. But it's what I can do because I've gotten a little bit older. And that's all I can do as far as training is concerned. So the idea of cycling your training so that you can peak and run the best races you possibly can, I think is the way to go. And one of the other things that have helped me in my training is the use of a heart rate monitor. Does anybody in the room use a heart rate monitor? Raise your hand if you use one. Okay, there's a few of you that do. What a heart rate monitor does, it's a thing you wear around your chest. It's elastic, and it's got the transmitter, which is against your chest, and then you have the receiver, which is like a watch on your arm. And what it does, it transmits your heart rate as you're running. And what it does for you is that it tells you if you're working too hard, which in my case is something that I need, because on a daily basis I just work too hard. I still am training like I trained back when I was 25, and that's what got me to be overtrained. So it tells me through my heart rate, and the heart rate doesn't lie. Your body can tell you, oh, I'm feeling great, or your mind can tell you, yeah, I feel good, but your heart rate is going to tell you the truth. It's going to tell you if you're recovered, it's going to tell you if you're too tired or overtrained, whatever. The heart rate will not lie. So if you are working too hard, your heart rate's going to be elevated. If you aren't working hard enough, which some of you may not want a heart rate monitor, because it tells you exactly how hard you're working. And you work within certain levels of the heart rate. And if you're supposed to be at a 130 heart rate in a particular workout and you're at 115, obviously you're not working hard enough because your heart rate is low, so you've got to pick up the pace. So some people don't like the heart rate monitor because that's what it tells you. And I think that they're very beneficial if you're a type of athlete that want to improve on your performance. And the way that it works is really pretty simple. You figure out your resting heart rate, which is, you take it in the morning every day for over a period of time, and you know what your resting heart rate is. And your maximum heart rate is 220 minus your age. If you wanted to be more scientific about it, you can go out and do a couple of different types of workouts that will figure out your maximum heart rate. Or if you've done a stress test on a treadmill, then you'll know what your maximum heart rate is. And then they have these graphs that you plot your minimum heart rate and your maximum heart rate, and you draw a line through it, and then it tells you what your training zones are. And for me, there's 4 different training zones. One would be for a race or interval workout, which is 90 to 100% of your maximum heart rate. My maximum heart rate's around 190. So if I'm running anywhere from at 171 to 190 heart rate, then that's my race or intervals. Like I was doing an interval workout the other day, and I was getting up to 183 in the interval workout, which is a pretty tough workout. And if your heart rate gets up that high, then you know you need to take several days of rest to recover. The next level would be your anaerobic threshold level, which would be 80 to 90%, which would be 152 to 171 heart rate. And for me, that would be a steady state run where you're working at the run, but you're not going into that all-out type of mode. And you see, that's the great thing about the heart rate monitor. It tells you exactly what mode to be in on each particular workout. So there's no mistakes. It sounds confusing, it sounds real scientific, but it really isn't all that hard. People make it out a lot harder than it is. And once you know what levels you need to work in, then it's easy. And then the next level, so you have your race and interval level, you have your anaerobic threshold, and then your training level, which for me would be 133 to 152. And that's just the level that I would go at on a daily basis. If I'm just going to go run a 10-mile run or a 7-mile run, that's the zone that I want to stay in. That's where I want to keep my heart rate. And then for a recovery run, it would be 114 to 133. And that's the type of running that I would do after a hard workout. For 2 days, I'm going to go in a recovery type mode. And that's the place where I made the mistake in the past, was that during the recovery phase, my heart rate was getting up into the 150s, 130s, 140s, 150s, so I was never recovering from that hard workout. And for those of you who are coaches, this is a tool that can be utilized for your coaching of young athletes. When you have a hard workout, and if you train an athlete for a long period of time at that high heart rate, they need a couple days to recover. And that's when you need to stand over them and say, look, you're just going to go very easy today, or for the next 2 days. And for me, I'd do a hard workout the next day, and I'd go out and run 10 miles in 55, 56 minutes. To me, hard running every day, you're going to make gains every day. And to a certain point, it worked, because I was young and I was resilient and I recovered from the workouts. But after a while, when I got older, my recovery time wasn't the same. It took me a couple days to recover. Now it takes me about a month to recover. But the idea of training is that you're adapting over time. You train the body hard, you work it hard, then you rest it. And the body recovers. And it recovers to a level higher than you were before. So it's this stair-stepping technique. It's like, there was a story about this farmer that went into the king, and he lifted a full-grown cow over his head. And they thought this was just astonishing. They go, how did you do this? And the guy told them, well, when the cow was born, every day I would lift the cow over my head. And over time, as the cow got bigger and ate more and grew up, I would still lift the cow over my head, and over time I was able to lift the cow even when it was full grown, because I adapted to it over time. And it's the same thing with training. You train at a certain level, you give yourself a chance to rest, then you train again, and you get a little bit stronger. But if you train too hard and don't recover, then you start going down the other direction, and your performances go down. So the rest is important. Other things that affect your heart rate, if you do decide to do the heart rate monitor and are checking your heart rate, other things affect it. Sleep, lack of sleep. If things are too stressful at work, then that will elevate your heart rate. If you have a fight with your wife or your husband, that definitely elevates your heart rate. Illness will do it, or if you have something off in your diet. If you party too much on St. Patrick's Day, the next day your heart rate's going to be up. Drinking alcohol, drinking or eating a high-fat diet. Sometimes the diet will affect it also. So there are some other things that come into play when you're with your heart rate. You just have to be aware of those things. Any questions regarding that? Regarding heart rate? Yeah.
I got one. You mentioned using them with intervals, and I've always thought that was very difficult. Earlier, your early intervals, generally you weren't getting high enough, and late you're real high. And I've read that you should try to target that heart rate at the end of the interval. You finish your 800, and that's when you want your heart rate to be whatever, the 90 to 100%. I just find that when I want to move the heart monitor, I find the early intervals too fast, and I'm just not getting, I want to go out and run a certain pace fast. It doesn't work. You know what I'm saying?
No. I think in an interval workout, sure, in the early workouts, the heart rate's not going to be up as high as it will be at the end of the workout. Like the workout I did the other day, the first interval I was maybe at 170, and by the end I was up to 183. But that's fine. You're still working, like I was 170, I'm still in that target zone of where I wanted to work. And in an interval workout, if you're hitting your splits, I don't really pay that much attention to the heart rate. The only time I utilize the heart monitor in an interval workout is to monitor my rest, so that I know that I'm recovered before I start my next interval. And
You're really going on the split more than you're going on the heart rate.
right. I do more of the split and then use the heart rate monitor for recovery. When it's down, the heart rate's back down to 110, I know I can go again. But if it's staying up at 130, I need more rest. between intervals. Yeah.
Steve, this question about recovery. In other words, whatever you run and you take your pulse after a minute, now how long does it take you to get back to your normal pulse rate? You know what I mean? In other words, you run your pulse up and, well, you run whatever distance, you take your pulse.
Mhm.
Then you run another, and you keep running, and then you take your pulse again. Now, how long does it take you to recover or any of us to recover that normal pulse rate? Like mine, for instance, is resting pulse 61, but, you know, under running conditions, it could go up to 120 or so.
Well,
Do you have an answer for that? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. His question was, how do you know when you're recovered? Say if you're doing an interval workout or some type of workout, how do you know what your recovery rate is?
Yeah.
For me, if I'm doing an interval workout, and again, my high is 190,
Yeah.
my low is, you know, I'm in the 40s for resting rate. If I get my heart rate down to about 110 or 100, then that's the time where I know I'm recovered and I can go to the next interval.
Can
So
you do that within 2 minutes?
it
Or
depends. It depends on the lengths of the intervals
Oh, yeah.
and how fast I'm running.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times, I don't worry about how long the recovery is. I'll let my heart rate tell me when I'm recovered. So if we're doing quarters, and I run a quarter, and it takes me 2 minutes to recover from it, then it takes me 2 minutes. But it doesn't, in this particular workout that I'm talking about, you're better off to be recovered and get through the workout than to try to keep running with your elevated heart rate and quit the workout halfway through.
Now, one other thing about your intervals, I don't know whether you covered this because I missed the first 15 minutes of the talk. Generally, I suppose you subscribe to long, short, long, short, long, shorter. In other words, hard, easy, hard, easy, hard, easy. At any rate, that you don't do more than 3 interval days a week. Is that true?
I never did more than 2.
Okay. Now, I heard you say something I was a little surprised to hear you say. You don't like hills, but you do hills, don't you, for intervals to really get your, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Usually my workouts would consist of, during that strength training phase,
Yeah.
would be 1 hill workout a week, 1 interval workout a week,
That's good.
and then a long run.
Oh.
So that and it's all strength work. Like I wouldn't alternate speed, strength, they would all be strength work. And then when I get to the speed phase, it'd be all speed. Just a few other things that I'd like to talk about that I didn't cover, and that would be the mental aspect of running. And I think this is one of the most important phases, and I didn't leave a whole lot of time for it. So maybe next hour I'll spend more time on it. But the mental aspect of running is so very important, and there's a lot of things that I have done and utilized over the past that have helped me. Obviously one would be, and I've done this ever since high school, because the coaches that I had were really goal-oriented. They helped me in understanding what goal setting was, setting the goals for myself, both long-term and short-term. When I got to college my freshman year, the coach said, you're going to be the American record holder mile, and you're going to be on the Olympic team. And these were goals that he had set for me. I thought he was crazy, but you know, these were both things that he planted seeds in my brain very early age, saying these are things that you're going to accomplish, and these are your long-term goals. And then he also set the short-term goals, because your goal has to be something that you could achieve on a weekly basis. So you should set a goal each week, either to hit a certain amount of mileage, to run a certain amount of days a week, to do a particular workout during that week, but set some sort of goal for yourself every week regarding your running. Because when you accomplish that goal, you get this endorphin rush. You know, everybody that you've ever talked to about, you know, some of these business seminars, they always stress the idea of setting goals for yourself and make them something that you could accomplish even on a daily basis. I know the Franklin seminars, they have these, you know, the Franklin books, and they want you to set goals on a daily basis so that you can mark off, because every time you achieve a goal, you get the endorphin rush. So set goals for yourself in your running on a, if you can, a daily basis, but specifically a weekly basis, so that you have something that you can accomplish each week, and then you reset another goal for the next week. Maybe it's to just be consistent in your training, it doesn't matter, but just have it written down somewhere that you have a goal for yourself. Another thing that has benefited me is having a training diary. I've had a training diary ever since 1977. So I have all my workouts every day for that many years. And it does two things. One, you can look back and say, hey, you know, especially when you're coming close to a race, I can look back to that training diary and say, hey, I've had some real consistent work here. I've been working hard, you know, this workout here and this workout here, and you know, I'm in good shape. But on the other hand, it can also tell you, God, I missed this week, and I missed this week, oh my God, I missed this day. So, you know, obviously it can work either way, but if you're missing time, then it also can tell you, hey, I need to be a little bit more dedicated, I need to train harder, and I need to get the work in, because it's very easy, your mind can play games on you, and it can say, well, I've trained pretty hard, and the book that you write in will tell you whether you have or not, whether you've done the work or not. And it just is a good documentation. I wish I would have kept the training diary in high school of the workouts that I did then, or my first couple of years of college, just to have reference to go back and look at. But I didn't keep that training diary, so I really don't know what I did. I forget. So for you young people, I think it'd be a good thing to do. And all it is just I get a little weekly planner, and you just write what you did. You don't have to get technical about it. Just write the workout you did, where you went, how you felt. You can get more technical if you want, but you know, have something that you can go back to and look at, because it also helps if you had a good race, a particularly good race, and you wanted to duplicate that. Figure, well, how did I do that? You know, I ran really well. What did I do differently? You can go back and look at it, and it'll tell you exactly what you did, so that hopefully you can duplicate it again in the future. Because good races don't happen by accident. There's something that you did that enabled you to be at that point, both physically and emotionally. And that's consistency in training is important too. If you have the consistency, then good things will happen. And one of the things that I think is extremely important in your race preparation is, you know, you see in football games, and especially football games, where they do the big psych-up routine, and they're pounding each other on the shoulder pads and hitting each other in the head. In running, it's completely different. You want to come from a very relaxed, very, almost, I'm thinking in terms of karma type of attitude. I felt like my best performances came when I was relaxed mentally. If I was mentally strained or stressed like I would be at a major championship, then my performances would not be quite as good. So my suggestion is that you psych down, not psych up. The bigger the championship, the more you need to psych down. The bigger the race, the more important it is to you. See, because people think, well, I got to psych myself up. It's a big race. So I've got to think about it. I've got to mentally prepare for it. If it's a big race, and it means a lot to you, then it was something that you had set a long time ago. It is something that you've been training for a long time. It wasn't something that you just said, oh, I'm going to run this race this week. Well, that's not a big race. If you just set it up a week ahead of time, that's not a big race. But if you set up this race a year prior to, or 6 months prior to, and say, you know, this is a race I want to work for, obviously it's a big race to you, and it's very meaningful to you. And so you've already gone through the whole mental preparation to get to that point. You've thought about it, you've probably done some visualization, you put it on your calendar, something that you want to work for. So all the mental work has been done. So the week prior to the race, and this is something that you guys could use later on this year, the week prior to the race, you want to just completely forget about the event. Not think about it, not visualize, not get caught up in it. And I know it's hard to do in a lot of cases, but it's the best thing you could possibly do, because you've already gotten yourself physically and mentally prepared the best you can to run the race. So the only thing you do at that point is do yourself harm by thinking about it. I could use a good example. In 1984 in the Olympics in Los Angeles, they were in my hometown. I got so caught up in the fact that these are the Olympics, and it was my first Olympics I got to go to, because in '80, when I made the team, we boycotted. So I never had that Olympic experience of knowing, you know, what it's like. And the Olympics are just like any other race. It's the same guys I competed against, you know, 50 times. The only difference was that now the whole world is watching. And so I got so caught up in that I changed my training, I changed my routine. And you know, the night before the finals, you know, or even the weeks before the finals, all I could think of was, you know, the Olympic final. I'm counting down the days. And by the time I made it to the finals, I was just a basket case. So I learned from that, and in 1988, again, 84, I didn't stay in the village, I didn't go to the opening ceremonies, I didn't go to any other events, because I thought it would take away from my preparation for the Olympics, for my race. So in 88, I did things completely different. I traveled with the team, went over early, stayed with the Olympic team. I went to different events, went to the opening ceremonies, you know, saw all sorts of different events. I saw some of the volleyball, some of the gymnastics, the swimming. You know, had a great time. Went to Disneyland in Tokyo. So I really enjoyed myself and was able to relax through the heats and the semis. But the night before the finals, I couldn't get that relaxation, because I was feeling so good and feeling so confident that all I did all night long, and I was in a room by myself because all my roommates were gone. The Olympics were over for them, so they were out partying, having a good time. So I was by myself, and all I did all night long was visualize the race over and over and over in my head, thinking about, you know, seeing myself crossing the finish line, winning the gold medal, because I knew I was in that kind of shape. You know, visualizing where I was going to put my medal, what I was going to say in the press interview afterwards. You know, these are all things that were going through my head. And so there wasn't any relaxation time. And I was using that adrenaline, because you do, if you visualize properly, you could really feel the adrenaline going. You feel the butterflies, and your heart rate can get elevated, and you can start sweating. You know, there's a lot of things that you can do mentally to drain your body. So this is what I did all night long, and I got maybe 3 hours of sleep, and went to the race the next day, and I finished 5th, missing the gold medal by less than 1 second.
Ooh.
And, you know, 1 second is, you know, the difference between getting 3 hours sleep and getting a nice 8 hours sleep, or by being relaxed as opposed to being uptight. You know, and I'm convinced of the fact that if I could have relaxed that night, then my performance could have been a lot better, put it that way. I'm not saying I would have won, but my performance would have been better. So relaxation in running is the key. When you get to the event and you're there, yeah, then you need to turn back on, and you got to start getting mentally and emotionally prepared to run the race. But you save that for the morning of the event. Great. Any questions? Yes.
I don't know how it would be helpful to know how you've done things sort of over the years as far as training surfaces. I know it becomes especially, I mean, if you put in 20 years out on asphalt, it takes its toll.
Oh, absolutely.
So, first of all, I guess it'd be helpful to know what percentage, roughly, of your training was done on natural surfaces through the majority of your career, and how has it changed as you've sort of gotten into the later 30s?
The question was how much of my training was done on what type of surfaces. And when I lived in Arizona, when I was in college, most of it was done on asphalt, because we just didn't know any better. If we ran on the dirt, we felt like you were running slower, because it would slow you down. When I went to Arizona, probably 90% of my work was done on the trails. We had these canals that went through Phoenix, Scottsdale area. So very, very seldom did I run on asphalt, maybe a little bit of the run was run on the asphalt just to get to the trail and get to the canal. So from 79 to 84, 85, it was almost all on dirt. And ever since that time, even now, I'll try to do at least 80–90% on dirt or grass or anything soft. I'll go out of my way to find a softer surface. And I think that that's extremely important in your training if you want longevity, if you want to stay away from injuries, to get on the softer surfaces. Yeah.
I guess right now you say you're doing like 90% on grass or on natural surface.
Mm-hmm.
When did you sort of make that change to even adding more to it? Did you see some point, like at an age, I guess you could say, when that became even more critical?
Well, I started doing it by accident in Arizona just because of the canals that were there. And I really enjoyed running on the canals as opposed to running on the roads. So it was kind of by accident, and then over time I realized, hey, this is a good idea to be running on this. And it just carried over when I moved back to California. The idea of running on the softer surfaces, and you know, it's just been consistent ever since. But to anybody that's younger, these days, when I talk to, say, college athletes or high school athletes, I stress the idea of running on the softer surfaces just to save their bodies. Yeah.
Favorite strength interval workout?
Asked if I have a favorite strength interval and a favorite speed interval workout. One that's really helped me a lot psychologically in the past is for speed intervals. One workout I did was just 2 times a mile with 10 minutes rest. And you'd say, well, that's kind of a strength workout, but it is, but it's a speed workout as well, because you're running the miles under control fast. So I ran 404, 405, two different miles with 10 minutes rest. And, you know, that's a great psychological workout. And that was, yeah, so, you know, and that's what you're working with a speed workout. You're working the mind, you know, getting yourself to feel really good. And strength intervals, running 1,000-meter repeats, I think is the real tester. If I could go and repeat 1,000 meters at my goal pace, then I know I'm fit. Based on heart rate. You know, the strength intervals, when you're doing more speed, again, it could be a strength or a speed. The coach told me if you could run 5 times 1,000 meters in 2:30, then you're in shape to run a 350 mile. So it depends on what you're trying to do with the workout. Earlier in the year, I'll run 5 times 1,000 with, you know, 4 minutes, well, with less rest, like 2 minutes rest, but we'll be running them slower. And, you know, it's just a good strength workout. Because the shorter the interval, the easier it is. I mean, I've seen guys that can run quarters all day long, but quarters really don't test you. You got to get up to 800 meters, 1,000 meters, and that really separates the prepared athlete from the guy that's faking it.
You're talking before about, you talked about the mental aspects, mainly about relaxation. Did you ever get into any of the techniques, the training techniques, mental training, as far as trying to train yourself to be able to get into that racing zone when you want to, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I do. And there are several different techniques. There's biofeedback, which I tried through the Olympic Committee. I've never discovered a way that you can forcibly get yourself into that zone. I mean, it happens on occasion. I don't know if any of them work. Yeah, it's a marketing tool. I think some people just have the ability, like Joe Montana has the ability to get into the zone. And Mark Allen is another one. I don't know if you know Mark Allen, but he's a triathlete. And just, the guy is incredible in his mental preparation. And It's just the way he is.
I've known guys that had no talent, really didn't have the strength, didn't have the speed, but if something would click 10 minutes before the race and they wouldn't blink for 10,000 meters.
Right.
And they ended up,
And conversely is true too. You know, people that have all the talent in the world, they get into a race and they totally fall apart because they can't, they can't concentrate, they can't get into that zone. Yeah.
If you were training for a 10,000, would you do half or 3/4 or 90% of that distance at race pace or would you do the whole distance at race pace to prepare yourself for that race?
I would suggest doing the whole distance at race pace. You know, if you're going to do mile repeats, I'd do six times a mile or 12 times 800, because you want to get the same amount of workload in as what the race is, just to prepare yourself for that, that long of a distance.
Steve, one more.
Okay, take 2 more.
You spoke about your 1,000 meters. How much time do you permit yourself to rest between starting the next one? Like 15 seconds or what? 20 seconds?
It depends on how fast I'm running them and what you're trying to accomplish. When I'm running them faster, I'll take more rest. Say
Okay.
5 minutes. If I'm running them 2:30, I'll take 5 minutes between each one.
Okay, you do allow some.
But if I'm running them slower, then I'll take a shorter amount of rest. Because you're trying to accomplish 2 different things.
You are 37?
Yes.
Okay. Did you take under, for the same fellow that LaCory did, for instance, or not?
As far as the...
As far as early training is concerned in college and that sort of thing.
Oh,
Not
I-
under him, but under his same teacher.
No, I had a different coach. I had Len Miller from UC Irvine and then went to Arizona State. Do you have a question?
Yeah, first of all, I just want to ask you about your diet. Do you have any special or unique nutritional needs? And second of all, I kind of know when you took the podium, you kind of grabbed your back. And it's kind of related to the question that he had too. Have you ever had any lower back injuries after the pounding? You said 27,000 miles. I mean, it's got to take its toll.
No, I was just joking with the back. No, I've never had any back injuries. It's kind of funny because I've gone into podiatrists and had people with the Olympic Committee work with me, and I've run on a treadmill, and they've all said that I'm a running machine. You know, a lot of people you pronate or supinate, or one knee kind of comes in, or there's something technically wrong with your style or your form, and with me there was nothing wrong. There was nothing they could improve on. So I think for that reason I've been able to stay injury-free. But on the bad side is that I've always been able to run as much as I've wanted and train as hard as I wanted, that I go overboard and go to the overtraining mode. And as far as the nutrition, I had that written down in here, but I didn't have a chance to get to it. Initially, I wasn't on any particular diet. During my peak years in the early 80s, I could go on McDonald's hamburgers, donuts, and beer and be fine. But as time has gone on, I've become a lot more concerned with my diet. And when you're young, you're invincible. You think, everything's going fine, why should I change it? But to younger kids, yes, I would recommend it, because if you could make 0.1% difference, that's worth it. And if you're it's like, the analogy I use is, you could put, if you put regular gasoline into a race car, it may be able to go, but it's not going to run very efficient. But if you put that special fuel into it that it's built to handle, then it's going to run at its pure efficiency and run at its best. And the body is the same thing. It's just like that race car. The better the fuel that you put into it, the more efficient and better it will run. So I would recommend to young kids, not to eat a good balanced diet and not to exclude food groups. I see a lot of people that are, I got zero fat. There's one guy that would rinse off his cottage cheese just to make sure that it was, completely fat-free. The body needs fat, the body needs protein, and it needs carbohydrates. So you don't want to exclude any of them. It needs those things to function properly. You know, but everything in moderation. I think that's the key. Everything in moderation. You don't want to exclude entire food groups or entire classes of food, but you don't want to eat too much of them either. And you know, just whatever you do in moderation.
Time goal for tomorrow?
It depends on the weather, more or less. I saw the course, and it's not an easy course for a 5K. Coming back, you got that long hill coming up, coming back. I'd say if it's not windy, I would like to be around 14 minutes. You know, it probably will be a little bit over that because of the hill on the way back, but that's the type of shape that I would hope to be in at this point, would be around 14 minutes. So that's what I'll shoot for. I'll try to run, what I'm going to try to do is run the first mile under control, you know, like around 4:30. And when we make the turn and come back up, really push the second mile up the hill. Because hopefully I'll have some energy left over for an easier first mile, and then just try to maintain to the finish. So that's what I'm going to shoot for.
Steve, we need to get you over to the sponsors booth.
Thank you very much.
Steve will be over at the Choice Care booth, and he'll be able to sign autographs and dispense advice and anything else that you'd like. And he'll be back here at 1 o'clock for his next talk. Thank you.
Out there.